Kung Fu has completely changed my life. Today I'm just going to talk about my journey. Maybe you'll consider starting yours. Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. My name's Matt. If you're new here, this is a channel about Chinese martial arts. Today we'll talk about my journey in Kung Fu and perhaps you might be inspired to start your very own. So let me put this in context first. In my teens, I had a feeling that life was short. So sadly, I grew up losing family members, as most of us do at some point, and that gave me a real sense of my own mortality and just this fear of regret and not wanting to have a life that was wasted. So I wanted to do something interesting with my life. I was interested in doing like meditation and things like that, but I was this scrawny, weak pacifist, my brother beating me up, not particularly confident, really quite shy when I was growing up. That said, it wasn't like I was an athlete and I started Kung Fu and instantly became this incredible martial artist. I was crap. I was skinny, weak, I had zero confidence. The idea of meditation got me interested in Tai Chi, didn't even know what Tai Chi was, went to a lesson and next week stayed for Kung Fu, and so the story goes on. When I started sparring, I essentially felt like a punching bag for the more advanced students, and I know they wouldn't have thought of me like that, but that's how it felt being my side of the gloves. But despite getting beaten up all the time, there was something about the classes that just got me. I got the bug, and it kept me coming back week after week. There's so much in Chinese martial arts, so let's talk about some of the things that I picked up along the way. So the first thing of interest is Chinese culture. Now, Chinese culture is thousands of years old, so you have a bit of catching up to do at whatever stage you turn up. We've got history, geography, philosophy, tea. That can get very expensive if you get into that kind of stuff. There's so much there that is absolutely fascinating, and somehow in this weird melting pot, martial arts and all of that is all just mixed up, and so you end up learning about all this other stuff just by turning up to these classes where you fancied doing a bit of exercise for whatever reason. So when you start getting exposed to this stuff, the world gets bigger. There's a whole plethora of music, food, places you've never even heard of, and you just get to go and try them and taste them. So I guess that leads on quite nicely to the next thing that I picked up along the way. You learn about this culture. The obvious thing is you want to go there and experience it. Now, not everybody is able to do that, I appreciate, but something that I was able to do in my training. The first time I went to China was 2007. It was absolutely incredible. So even then I spoke a couple of words of Chinese badly with the wrong tones. No one understood them. Just being in this entirely new environment. And we always say China, but China is made up of different peoples, different types of geography, different languages. There's so much there to experience, and if you're ever lucky enough to just take your passport and a backpack and go around China, you won't regret it. It's incredible. So Chinese culture aside, one of the main reasons people do martial arts is to get fit, and slowly from being this scrawny weakling who was always getting punched in the face and not able to keep his guard up when he was sparring, I just started to get that little bit fitter. Now, I remember in classes doing low horse stance, which is basically like holding a squat position. Being in class, holding low horse stance, being in a lot of pain, my thighs were shaking, everything was trembling, and just wanting to not be the first person to stand up and try and loosen off their legs. And you just get faced with that little bit of adversity that helps you push yourself. I went from being weak to slowly getting stronger and stronger. Not only does it build you up physically, but psychologically and emotionally, you start to go through those pain barriers or whatever it is to get stronger. So facing adversity not only strengthens your legs, but builds character too. Now, one thing I also will say, no one does Chinese martial arts, or any martial arts really, for a long time without getting injuries. However, what I will say is I would rather be injured and happy than have been sitting on the sofa and felt like I didn't experience this incredible world, this immersive environment. If I had the choice, I would do it all again. And I would quite like to do it all again, that'd be great fun. Now, not everybody's interested in fighting, I totally appreciate that. So if you're interested in starting Chinese martial arts, you don't have to fight. However, I've developed so much through all the sparring and competitions where before I was shy, even outside of class, anything remotely close to conflict, I would try and shy away from and avoid, to the point that now people comment on the weird fact that when I'm sparring, I'm smiling. Not because I'm some absolute maniac, but because there's nowhere else I'd rather be. I'd like being in that environment and being with my classmates and testing myself and testing them and all the other stuff that happens. It's incredible. And that's just part of this journey that you go on. Now, I didn't compete for years because I had a crappy back, but when I started to do competitions, that got me even further into that, where you go to some big gym somewhere and you watch other people do their performances, you watch other people spar, you're there with other people from other clubs, you might see the same people when you go back to the same places, you start to get a bit of camaraderie, and at some point I have to step into the ring and stand across from someone and they're going to try and beat me up. For anyone who hasn't done it, it sounds terrifying, but it's actually a lot of fun. We're wearing gloves, it's all friendly. But the cool thing about it is when we step onto the mat and do that match, only one person's going to win. There's no here's your third place trophy type thing. It's quite a binary thing of win or lose. And I like that challenge. Years ago I would have shied away from that kind of thing, but being able to step up to the plate and just try and meet them head on and at least do your best and give a good show. It's just so much fun. It's like chess, but in chess, oh, they take your pawn, it's fine. But it's happened at a high speed, and if you get it wrong, you get hit in the face. It sounds terrifying for some people, but it's so much fun. So once the pandemic is out of the way, we can all get back together and do that, and it'll be awesome. Now, another thing I've spoken about on my channel, I'll link a video up here about learning Chinese and the experiences you can have doing that. I went from being this monolingual, only English speaker, had no experience learning other languages, previously had no interest in learning other languages, to going to China every year and being with Chinese people and not being able to cross that barrier and talk to these people. And I had one experience that was probably the biggest kick up the backside I needed to get my Chinese going. So one of the styles I do is called Tai Zu Quan, which is, we call it dog boxing. So my master's master, Chen Yijiu, his granddaughter was at a competition I was at. So I was at this competition in China. We were standing there watching some other people compete. And it was me and Chen Yijiu's granddaughter. And so in my sort of kung fu geeky way, I'm like, oh, this is almost like some kind of kung fu royalty kind of thing. It would be nice to talk to her about her grandfather and her training with her grandfather. But my Chinese at that time was basic pleasantries, having a bit of a chat. Oh, yeah, we know each other. Oh, yeah, great. Oh, lovely. Yeah. And then get to the point she asked me a question. Nothing. I know the sounds, don't know any of the words, don't understand what she's saying. And that was the kick that I needed to think, I've missed this opportunity where I could have this incredible conversation with someone. And so that's what pushed me to learn my Chinese, where now when we go to China, my Chinese isn't perfect. Anyone who goes to China with me will tell you that. It just changes and broadens your world when you can connect with other people who are from an entirely different culture as your own, who've got different news sources and everything. It's so interesting. Going through all these different experiences along the way, I start to get more confident. So things like some sort of sparring. First of all, sparring was terrifying, and then going into fighting competitions where people are trying to hit you in the face and I'm trying to be nice and relaxed and actually having good fun whilst I'm doing it, occasionally breaking a toe or two. But that changed me, that sparring side of it, and also doing performances. So in Chinese martial arts, we have these routines, and quite often that's what you often see the Shaolin monks do when they do their performances. And the first time, we'd go to some town fair that barely anyone was there. So the fear is that perhaps someone I know might actually see me do my Kung Fu and they might say it's crap and go and tell everybody I know. To the last China trip, we went to one of the Shaolin temples in Fuqing. We had this weird thing where the Shaolin monks would do a performance, we'd do a performance, they do a performance. It just felt like there's a bit of, obviously, a little bit of rivalry with us and them, but just felt like fun. Just felt like a chance to kind of show off all the hard work you do in the hours of training. It was incredible. I had such a laugh. And that didn't even faze me one bit. So if you told the 17-year-old me that I would have done that, I would not have believed you for a second, and I would have run a mile rather than go and do it. But you just get used to these experiences, so it just becomes the new normal. That's just, oh yeah, it's just what you're doing when you do Chinese martial arts. So as I got exposed to all that stuff, more and more slowly over time, I started to change as a person. And I didn't even notice each of those incremental steps going forward. But then, 17 years down the line now, I'm a completely different person, which is just amazing to think. So all of those experiences, China, the Shaolin Temple, speaking Chinese, none of that would have happened had I not gone to that first class. Totally transformational, and just going to keep going. So weirdly, I haven't thought about this until now recording this video, I started when I was 17, I'm 34 now, so that's half my life of doing these handful of styles. Let's just keep going. So if you're interested in doing Chinese martial arts, find a club near you, give it a go. I'll link our club in the description below. If you're interested in seeing our Sanzan, which is the first routine we teach to beginners, I'll link that on the screen now. Thanks for watching, enjoy your training. I'll see you in the next video.